Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I wanted to go over something that is viewed as controversial in today's time, right? I'm sure you've heard of it. Some people think that it's inhumane, some people think that it's senseless, some people just downright call it an atrocity. But it's the idea of human sacrifice, right? We've all heard of it. We all know that Jews used to do it. And in some point in the future, when the third and final temple is built, it will be reinstated. But what is the purpose of animal sacrifices? How do we justify this? Is it inhumane? What happened? Why does God require animal sacrifices? Let's shed some light on it. Let's begin. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain animal sacrifices in a way that hopefully people will understand. I'm not going to do justice to it in this video. I'm going to try to condense this down. I always say that, and then I always end up going for maybe 20, 30 minutes. Anyway, I'm going to try to do this in a short amount of time. All right. So, animal sacrifices. Why did we used to do them? And why do we hope that it will come again when the Mashiach comes and the Messiah comes, builds the third temple, bring more sacrifices, right? And I understand there are multiple offerings, right? Sin offerings, burnt offerings, all kind of different offerings that we used to bring, okay? So let's start from the premise that God wants us to bring sacrifices, not because he needs them. Obviously, God doesn't need anything. But we need to recognize that we are not at the center of the universe, right? God is. We need to recognize that life isn't all about us and all about taking. It's about giving, okay? Now, we think of it as inhumane now. You're killing an animal, a harmless animal, and you're sacrificing it on an altar, right? That would rain PETA down on you in a heartbeat, right? A bunch of people that would scream bloody murder, right? But you got to look at it from a deeper perspective, okay? It's the idea of giving up something that you crave, that you love, to God. That is it in a nutshell. You're giving up something that you require to God in a way that shows that you put emphasis on God, not so much yourself, right? It's sacrifice, a bull, cow, for example. I mean, that has to be what? 2,000 pounds of kosher meat, right? That is something to feed your family. That is something that obviously you and your family require. But to give that up, to acknowledge and recognize that it's not all about me, that is the symbolism. See, the deeds shape the heart, right? And we make sacrifices every day for the people that we love. We don't even realize it, right? Think of it this way. And when you're in love, right? When you are, or when you have children, you give up something. Even if it's just time, you're giving up something. You give up something for the person that you love, right? You go out on a date with a woman or a man, and they want pizza, you want tacos, right? Sometimes you will say, okay, I'll give up the tacos and we can go eat pizza. Or it could be something bigger, where two people come together and one individual wants children and the other doesn't. And the one that doesn't want children, ends up saying, I will sacrifice and have children with you, or vice versa, right? The person that wants children decides, I'm okay with not having them, right? So it's the idea that we sacrifice, and we do it almost subconsciously for the people that we love. I mean, how many times have you, if you have children and you're a parent, you've worked a job and got your paycheck, and then your child decided that they wanted something. Not needing, you owe a responsibility to them in terms of need, food, shelter, clothing, but they wanted a toy. You make the sacrifice in order to give it to them. Now, when it comes to, we're a very humanistic society now. That's why when we view animal sacrifices, it's looked down upon, it's frowned upon, right? But the idea is you're giving something up that is important to you to God. And again, it's not that God needs anything. God doesn't need a steak or a burger, right? But it's the idea that we recognize that we can make sacrifices to God. I mean, why do we fast, right? You go without pleasure, whether that be food or electronics, however you decide to fast. Why do we do that? God doesn't need you to go hungry, right? But it's the idea, it's the symbolism behind it. It's you recognizing that there is something greater in the universe than just yourself. And if that doesn't make sense to you, then in about 15 seconds it will. Recognize that in America, right, we slaughter about 39 million cows a year. And it's not done in a way that is pleasant to the animal. I mean, you can YouTube slaughterhouses and how, cows and whatnot, how they kill them, how they slaughter them. I'm not going to go into detail about it, or it gets pretty graphic to say the least. But 39 million cows are slaughtered a year. And that's okay. Why is it okay? Because we're consuming it. It's okay because you get that steak. It's okay because you get that burger. So that makes everything okay, right? There's an element of selfishness behind that. I'm going to take that animal's life if it benefits me. But heaven forbid if I take that animal's life and offer it up as a sacrifice to God. It's the idea of giving something up that means a lot to you. Most people wouldn't give up their vehicle or give up their stove or something like that, something that they need. But in this way, sacrifices are the symbolism. It is a outward action of an inward change, right? We had different offerings for different things. For example, we had sin offerings, and they were for unintentional sins. If you sinned intentionally, then there's a whole nother process to that. But for unintentional sins, right, you would sacrifice a bull. The priest would sacrifice a bull, and then there would also be a goat that would be sacrificed on behalf of the whole community. Read Leviticus chapter 16, I believe it is, to get the whole details of how it was done. But we would sacrifice, and it was for sins that we didn't know that we had committed, right? And again, it's not because God requires the sin. It actually says in Tanakh, sin offerings you did not require. God wants us to be better, be a better person. And the way that we are a better person is we recognize that life is not all about us. It's what you can contribute to the other person. Nobody would have a problem with someone giving to the homeless or charity or whatever. When it comes to animal sacrifices, it was a way to symbolize that we recognize that there's a higher power, there's a higher being that deserves worship, and we would give up something to show that we acknowledge that. And the idea that we always, we always gave animal sacrifices is not true. There was a flour. You can give up flour. You could, bread. It's the idea, it's the symbolism behind it that you recognize that there is something more. And as I said, subconsciously, we do it every day for the people that we love. So if you, in fact, love God as He says in our Torah, you should love God with all your heart and all your soul and all your might, then ask yourself, what are you giving up for Him? What are you sacrificing for Him? Right? To show, to symbolize that it is all about God, not so much you. What are you giving up? So when you understand it in that sense, it's not about just being cruel to animals and whatnot. It's more so about giving up something that is important to you. The same thing happens when we fast, right? And so many people view it as inhumane or what have you. See, cows and whatnot, they were currency back then in those times. They were a way to feed your family. So to give it up, you took a huge hit, you know? But now, in this day and age, we don't understand that concept. Because as history has, as civilization has evolved, we also became more selfish. We became much more materialistic. So, Lord forbid, we sacrifice for God. Whether that's refrain from eating, refrain from sexual pleasure, refrain from electronics, or, whatever the case may be. Lord forbid. But most Westerners are fine with 39 million cows, and that's just cows. We're not even going into chickens and turkeys and fish. Just 39 million cows alone are killed. And as long as we get a nice juicy steak on our plate, it's okay, because it's for us. That's how selfish we've become. Again, I can't do justice to animal sacrifices in this short video, but I wanted to highlight the idea of it's symbolic. It is a way to show that there is something in this world at the center of it that is worth sacrificing for, because you love God just that much, that you're willing to say, I will go without this, even though I really want it, to show you that I love you. And we do it for our children, family, our spouse. So, what are you sacrificing for God to show Him that He is at the center of the universe, that you worship Him, and He is of the utmost importance? That's called love. Thank you for watching.